Hello everyone, welcome to another Stories from the Stars. We got a good one today. We got a cool story by Mr. George MacDonald, not that MacDonald, not the one you're thinking of. He, in fact, was a Scottish author, poet, and a minister. So he's a very famous author from a long time ago. In all his pictures, he has an epic, sweet beard. He's got that minister beard he's all rocking in all his cool pictures. So pretty epic there. Had to do a little drawing for it. So he mostly wrote children's, like fairy tales, stories. Definitely a lot of fantasy elements in his work. Very mysterious, very beautiful language that he would write with. But one cool thing I like about him is this quote here, where this is what he states with all his writing. He says, "I write not for children, but for the childlike, whether they be of 5, 50, or 75. I really like that quote, that even though his works appeal to children, they also appeal to people with a big imagination and were very playful and had big spirits and just loved fantasy and thinking very deeply about life, the universe, and everything." So I really like that quote from him there. Another cool thing about him is he was a mentor to Mr. Lewis Carroll, who wrote, as we know, Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and many great poems. And so they were buddies for a long time, and I guess he was like really pushed for Alice in Wonderland to get published and everything. He really thought it was a really great work. So how about that? Pretty cool by our boy Mr. MacDonald, not that McDonald's. Okay, so as I said, we're going to dive into one of his cool stories here. Now, he wrote many novels, many different stories. I could have done a variety of them, but one of these stories was actually just a snippet, a little excerpt from his novel called Lilith. It's from chapter 10 of Lilith, called Bad Burrow, and it's just a little piece, a little sliver of that chapter, and I just loved his beautiful language. And a friend actually gave me this passage, and I would love to turn it into a little cool visual for you guys to sit back and enjoy. So without further ado, here is a piece from George MacDonald's Lilith. Here we go. From Lilith by George MacDonald. Chapter 10, The Bad Burrow. With a full face she rose, and I began to see a little about me. Westward of her, and not far from me, a range of low hills broke the horizon line. I set out for it. But what a night I had to pass ere I reached it. The moon seemed to know something, for she stared at me oddly. Her look was indeed icy cold, but full of interest, or at least curiosity. She was not the same moon I had known on the earth. Her face was strange to me, and her light yet stranger. Perhaps it came from an unknown sun. Every time I looked up, I found her staring at me with all her might. At first, I was annoyed, as at the rudeness of a fellow creature. But soon I saw, or fancied, a certain wondering pity in her gaze. Why was I out in her night? Then, first, I knew what an awful thing it was to be awake in the universe. I was, and could not help it. And that was a piece from Lilith by Mr. George MacDonald, Scottish author, poet, dude with an epic beard. And I really like that passage from Lilith, just because it's really cool to hear this like traveler going through this nighttime, and he looks up and sees the moon, and he feels the moon is staring back. The moon is the one staring at him. Usually we're the one like looking up at the moon, and the moon is always kind of like following us. Well, in this case, it feels kind of the opposite, that the moon feels like you're trespassing in my night. And I just love that this traveler there is like looking up at this moon, and there's just kind of this weird fantasy element to it that he's trespassing in the night of the moon. Does he belong there? Does he not? Who knows? Maybe. It's all mysterious. And the final point is, I disagree with him at the end there, where he said what an awful thing it was to be awake in the universe, and to be aware I think it's a beautiful thing, actually. But maybe he's just capturing the traveler who's walking in the night and just kind of terrified that this moon is staring at him and he doesn't know what to do. He's like, she has this icy cold stare and I'm scared. Oh my gosh. Anyway, this is a beautiful passage. I hope you guys enjoyed the cool visuals and learning a little bit about Mr. George MacDonald, epic fantasy writer, and hope you guys learn more about him and maybe a little bit about Lewis Carroll as well. So, see you all next time on Stories from the Stars.